K-pop reactions.
Yeah. And today, Lulu, we have something a bit more somber. But it's something I think that we want to continue to be a part of the discussion, things that we want to discuss. And it's all about what happened to Sulli, who recently had a tragic end to her life, who was dealing with depression and dealing with, honestly, a lot of difficult issues that I think is plaguing a lot of K-pop artists. So I found this video from a guy who does these kind of mini documentaries. He's clearly a big fan of K-pop, and he's also just a big fan of exposing, I think, what's going on in the industry. Check out his channel. It's called Internet's Nathan. Great stuff that he's got up there.
How come he's very knowledgeable about K-pop?
He's just a fan, and he's someone who likes to do these kind of videos. When you do these kind of mini documentary style videos, which we do actually on our other channel, John X Lulu show. So, check it out. I think it adds a lot of interesting opportunity to level up yourself, to understand what's going on, but also share, I think, a message that is probably something that needs to be heard. And so this one goes into why K-pop needs to change. And I think this is actually something that is worthwhile watching, not just for you K-pop fans out there, but anyone who's a part of any fandom that has really toxic sort of behavior. And I've seen this happen, in the gaming industry. I've seen this happen even in the geek industry, if you will, like fandoms, if you will. They take it too far. And I think what needs to happen is how do we, on our side, right? Because I think it's honestly two sides of the equation. One is the companies that are fueling this type of behavior, and then second on the other side, which is fans. How do you, as a fan, even if you don't necessarily contribute to it, how do you help prevent it? Is an interesting question, and how can we help? So let's check out this video and see what he has to say, and we'll share some commentary on that.
All right.
All right.
Let's watch this.
Let's do it. And away we go.
Sulli is an actress, ex-idol, and a human being. Some people seem to forget that. In this video, we're talking about Sulli's tragedy and how this will change K-pop forever, and what I believe will prevent things like this and possibly save lives. So if you aren't prepared for this sensitive topic, please click away now. And please stay to the end for my campaign to help raise money to help prevent suicide across America. Sulli started her career at 11 years old, making her acting debut in 2005 for an SBS drama. From there, she switched from acting to becoming an idol, auditioning for SM Entertainment and joined the label as a trainee.
이제 올 때가 됐어요. 다들 힘든 거지 이제.
Debuting as a member in the one-of-a-kind girl group FX in 2009.
Everybody say
So we actually don't know a lot of music from FX, but I do know Amber. Amber has actually been one of the members that I've been following along.
What people might be surprised about is what just happened while we were all sleeping. Sulli is no longer a member of FX.
From there, she returned to acting, even branching out into modeling, and had her own solo just this year with the song
Just
Goblin.
this year.
Sulli grew to be a very successful person in Korean entertainment, but this is where it starts to get dark. Once you start to get successful or have any sort of level of it, you start to become a target. Sulli was criticized for her little actions that shouldn't have been a big issue, with the way she acted, not wearing a bra, and simply by being different. K-netizens and people online are toxic and relentless. Imagine getting hateful messages every day for years. That will take a toll on the best of us. That, along with Sulli's own personal troubles, is what led to her passing. If you want to know more in detail about Sulli's death, please look it up on your own. I won't be describing it in this video.
K-pop fans are in great shock and mourning after the death of K-pop star and actress Sulli. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
But sadly, this isn't the first and probably won't be the last time we see something like this happen. 2 years ago, the K-pop world was shocked by another idol who has taken their life, SHINee's Junghyun. He was also an extremely talented and loved idol. He too was very successful. Although we don't know the exact motive for Sulli, each idol had their own reasoning behind their serious decision. But one thing that is constant aside from the malicious comments is the entertainment company. I don't 100% blame SM Entertainment for what happened either for Junghyun or Sulli, but this could have been possibly prevented. What I really want to see is a psychiatrist and a therapist in-house in the company
Yes.
for the company's artist. Just how JYP's Park Jin-young pushed to have an organic cafeteria for idols to eat healthy. Mental health is just as, if not more important than physical health. And that is why JYP does it.
And the last theme is creativity from happiness. The last theme, but the most important theme, is trying to take care of our employees, make them in the best condition they can ever be. And second, healthy lifestyle.
Oh,
I
I'm
really
impressed.
believe this has direct effect on the ideas
I think
that the
he's
employees
been
generate.
one of those people who champion a better
Mental care.
care for artists because he was
He
an
was
artist.
an artist, yes.
A lot of psychiatrists, we personally handpicked the psychiatrist to regularly consult all our employees and our artists.
Take a listen to
What's the
what
presentation
2PM's
for?
Chung Sung shared on his experience
Company
with the JYP
investors.
psychiatrist. There is a psychology teacher who gives mental care at the company. Everyone in JYP, starting from trainees to employees, receive mental care as compensation. But I'm originally an optimistic person. On the day when I met the teacher for the first time, he gave me a check mark on the self-diagnosis for mental health checklist. After I saw it, our conversation went, "You're happy even though you're working, right?" Yes. No discontent, right? Yes. You don't need any particular mental care and you seem to be interested in psychology, so let's study together. Since then, I started learning psychology with him. It has been 3 years since. Even
That's a
those
clever
who are
way to
already
get someone to
mentally
think
healthy
about
can
their
learn
mental
so
health,
much just
even
by
though they
meeting
say,
with a
"No, I don't need
professional.
it."
That is why I want to see a psychiatrist or therapist in each entertainment company in K-pop provided to the artist. It should be there. It should be alright. And the company should make it mandatory to have the artist meet and have an appointment with a psychiatrist every week, if at the very least every month. In my opinion, this will do so much more than cracking down on malicious comments. But even Korean lawmakers are working on that too. Within the past couple days after Sulli's passing, Korean lawmakers created a new law called the Sulli Act. It is one of the first major movements in Korea to counteract all the hateful comments online. And this bill has some serious power behind it. 100 Korean organizations and hundreds of Korean celebrities are supporting this bill, the Sulli Act. The final bill will be proposed in December to Korea's National Assembly. This is a fantastic first step, but it's a difficult one.
Yeah, I don't know how
They're
a
going to
law is
find,
going to
like-
help this. The government is just way too far removed from this type of thing. The government hasn't even figured out how to do social media themselves.
Hateful comments are made by nameless, faceless people online. I find that it will be hard to implement a penalty or whatever the repercussions are for sending a hateful message. But with the Sulli Act and my idea of having therapists and psychiatrists in each entertainment agency will work fantastically together. This will help strengthen those young idols who are in this system, who are in this society. Think about it. 9-year-olds to teenagers are joining the K-pop training
Yes,
system.
at
These are
that
the most
very young
important moments
age.
in your life. And these kids are skipping that, going straight to being judged and told how they lack in every way. I cannot help but imagine what this does to a child. This is breeding grounds for depression, anxiety, and those thoughts. If you need more proof of this, take a look at the news in K-pop. More and more K-pop idols are taking a break from promotions due to severe anxiety. This isn't a coincidence. Packed schedules, only a couple hours of sleep, and this all starting when they're at a very young age. The development process is totally messed up.
That's the problem. That's how companies can help. What is a maintainable level of work that you put in? You push people too hard. Psychologists it's like, let me just make sure, no one goes crazy. But that's too late.
There's a much more deeper conversation we can have about how people are so hateful, like netizens online, and how that affects idols. But I believe that's for another time. Sadly, this is a never-ending problem in K-pop. Losing the people that make us smile, happy, and even bring us out of our own depression. I wish to live in a world more forgiving and understanding so we don't see these beautiful lives leave this earth way, way too soon.
내가 뭘 잘못했나? 그냥 다 끝내고 싶다. 그런 생각을 해요. 끝이요? 글쎄요. 어떤 끝인지는 각자 생각이 다르지 않을까요? 그녀는 그냥 인사만 하고 싶었던 거일 뿐일 거예요.
Is that an interview?
모두가 사라질 것 같아요. 모두가 사라지는 게
Oh.
좋지 않을까요?
Yeah, that's a lot to take in. We've been hearing about this news. It's all over the K-pop world. And now that we have, a channel that we talk a lot about K-pop, it's not something that I just want to ignore. I can't just say, like, let's only cover the happy stuff, the stuff we want, because we bring up this kind of conversation. Actually, a lot in our conversations, right? We talk about how there's unfair pressure for them to constantly perform, unfair pressure of how they look, the training regimen, which is insane. But we do it from a perspective of, well, their videos look amazing. The work that they turn out, they're successful. You know what? It's all paid off. So let's be thankful that they stuck the course. But the problem is that that type of work environment is fundamentally flawed. It should not be something that you look at afterwards that they go through and say, like, all right, well, they need to rest. The Korean lawmakers need to focus on what should we do to take care of these kids? How do we protect them when they first get in the industry? Like, the contracts are insane. Like, the fact that you sign away your life.
Yeah, you're basically growing up.
Exactly. And
in
then
a
you
studio.
make no money up front, and you have to pay it back, and you're sort of like stuck in it. It's almost like indentured servitude. Like, it's basically a light version of being a slave for many years. And when you're that young, when you don't have these kind of choices as an adult, and your brain hasn't fully developed, that takes a hit on you. Right? Those who are strong can make it through. But even the strong ones, there's scarring involved. There's no way you cannot say that when you are taken away from your family from an early age and you're put through a grueling routine and you're then put in front of people and told what to say, how to sing, how to perform for many, many years before you can finally have your own voice.
Right. How to look in front of the camera.
You
or
become
everything.
self-conscious. Not only become self-conscious, you become depressed about the fact that you can never live up to that over an extended period. Maybe you can live it up for today, and maybe you could do it for a tour or for an album, but eventually you realize you can't live up to this unrealistic fan expectation, because the reality is your company is setting the bar for the fans to act that way. So that's my problem with this industry. That's what I think really needs to be worked on. Two sides of the equation, which is how do we as fans encourage the right behavior, right? Shoot down behavior that is bad. But second, the other side is how does the company better take care of their employees so that they aren't mistreated?
Right. Boy, that's really tough. It's so sad. And to just know that she's successful and yet no one knows how she's broken inside. And that's sad.
Well, I think many people do know. She's been vocal about it for a long time. This was not something that just came out of the blue. Right. She's been talking about this behavior is toxic. She's been going to her company for a while, saying, can you help me with this? To asking fans to love each other. And it didn't matter. That's the problem, right? And I think Korea is still at this inflection point of how do you empower a discussion, empower the people, the fans, certain fans who are more positive to fight for that. Because we see movements of bullying right now that is happening in the United States, a movement that is taking off because, quite frankly, the behavior is already that toxic here in the United States. But you know what? The government doesn't really do much about it. Maybe they have some couple programs to help it. It really still comes down to the fans and enough of the celebrities themselves and even some of the companies are like, you know what? This is enough of this behavior. We're going to encourage what is right behavior versus what is wrong behavior. Like, how do you reward people to act Right. And I tell you, it works remarkably well. When you reward people to act in a way that's kind, people will do it. And eventually they will fight for it.
Right. I can't really have a comparison because I'm a fan. I'm an ARMY. So I followed how ARMY tweets or how they talk in social media. It's so positive. I can't compare it to other K-pop fans, but how I wish that everybody, every fandom could be just like that.
You know what, Lila? I'll say this, and I think this is probably a controversial statement because I think a lot of ARMY will attack me for this, which is that, trust me, the ARMY is just as toxic as other fandoms. Because fandom, the culture of fandom is rooted in the sort of progression of people that going from a casual fan to a super fan. And you have fans that go in one direction, which is I want to protect, and then fans that go another direction, which is I want to harm. And the thing is that even those who protect eventually reach a point of a fandom where they feel like I got to do whatever it takes to defend, that their behavior becomes toxic. In other words, they start attacking other people. Right? We've seen this happen even with the ARMY, which is if you attack BTS, ARMY will come after you. They will attack back. And sometimes they attack people who say things that are quite frankly never meant to be harmful. And they attack a number of American music artists who have said things where like, oh, I love this particular BTS member. And they're saying in a way that is, look, I love them, but maybe in a way that may sound rude or even like over sexy, if you will. And the ARMY's all over them and tears them up. That's still toxic.
True.
Right? That's the problem. Toxic behavior is in every fandom because it is part of human nature. There are those of us who eventually become so protective, we act like crazy people. So they have the wrong incentive. That's the problem.
So maybe as a fan, let's not react right away. Have a moment. Okay, I disagree. I have this feeling right now, but think how you.
Yeah, that's not how human nature works.
I'm just.
Human nature isn't like
but
that.
But let's just try to be.
I don't think that's going to work either.
I don't know. I'll
share with you the technique of like how something like this can be addressed, okay? This is something that I've done a lot of research in around social media because I build a lot of social media apps and around how to build communities. And I work with a lot of fandoms from gaming industry to the entertainment industry to the music industry. And ultimately, the products that I build are actually meant to fuel this. And at some point, I got sick of fueling this kind of fandom because it is toxic in nature, right? You can take things too far by doing too many likes, too many things that encourage really abnormal behavior. And even something like getting people to watch a video 10 times over so their videos can get to the top. And they could be like, oh, this is the number one video in the last 24 hours based off of views. That is abnormal behavior. And it's abnormal behavior fueled by the wrong incentives, which is to be number one. Like, what does it mean to be number one in this chart? Who cares if this chart? It's a made-up chart based off of different factors and criteria. It doesn't actually mean that they're good or bad. You like it, you like it. You don't like it, you don't like it. But that's what happens, right? And these incentives are in place to fuel behaviors that maybe they didn't plan it that way, but it becomes that way. And if they don't address it, then you have abnormal behavior. And abnormal behavior is stuff like trolling, stuff like bullying, stuff like, cheating, lying, all these kind of things that happen in these fandoms. And I think the problem with something like what happened with Sulli is that at some point it becomes okay to say like, you know what? She set a bar of what is expected of her after she was as an actress, as someone who's in the limelight. And so she deserves it because we can critique. You know what? She's getting 10 pounds. That's not good for someone who, wants to become famous. I'm going to save that. And, some people say nice and some people say not so nice. It doesn't really matter. Some people say like, I'm just trying to protect you so you have a long career. It doesn't matter. The reality is the incentive to say that because it feels like you own a part of them or you can dictate how they live is in place. And I think we haven't learned to separate how there's a difference between who is performing versus who is the person. So I think if we really want to see better behavior around this, we need to do things that allow activities where people can be themselves on social media without this expectation. Like everything has to be perfect online, that the way I look when I'm on tour is going to be different than what I normally look like. And that if I have struggles, I could take time off and it's not a problem versus they're not doing something for 6 months. Their career's dead. There's that just next month. You know what? I hate them. I'm not going to follow them. Right? We've already created a monster. We are part of the machine now that has created this monster. We're feeding the monster because the K-pop industry says, well, the fans want this. And so we got to push our artists to deliver this. Or we're just willing to give the money away to these companies who give us more. We're not stopping to think, no, I can't. It just has to be a point where somewhere along the lines, people are making the right decisions to say, like, this is the threshold of what humans can do and what's healthy. When I'm meaning humans, I mean like these artists, these performers. And that is ultimately going to come down to people having different expectations of when I become a fan, it's not to become like reach a point of becoming like a stalking fan. I push them because I want more, more, more. You always want more, more, more. Right? So the other side of the equation is those who can control how much is delivered is the better solution, which is companies. Companies have to take responsibilities to know, like, this is as much as I can churn out, because at the end of the day, there will never be enough, right? Because, like, I mean, you say you follow BTS, you love BTS.
BTS just had
a break. Right?
Yes.
I mean, that's something that I'm sure the company ultimately said, like, we got to give it to them.
Right.
But, you know, they could have said no. You're like, hey, you know what? No, you guys got to keep doing it. You're on your peak right now. We don't have to push you, but look how much money you could be losing if you don't do it. Just saying that puts pressure on them. Fans can say, like,
no,
you know what,
sure
they're on top of their industry.
I'm for sure they're being told about that. This is the consequence. You're going to have a break for this long. You're going to lose this much of money.
I'm sure that was put in front of them.
Yes, of course.
But I think, you know, one thing that Big Hit has done a little bit differently that I hope these other companies have done, and I think the BTS is in a position where they could have done it, but they couldn't have done it when they're earlier, which is they renegotiated their contracts. And so much of what is expected of you is the contract. Your contract says you got to do this, this, and this. You don't do it, you lose everything, right? So they can take these breaks and they can make their own music. The point is, I think a lot of what JYP is talking about, which is the company culture is, I want to take care of my employees. The company culture is, I want to use happiness as the fuel of creativity, not stress, not, you know, the kind of things that people say about artists, which is, you know, when you have anguish, you perform your best because artistic soul comes out. It may be true, but it's not sustainable. So companies have a huge responsibility to that. And I'm not just saying companies like K-pop industry. I'm also talking about companies that have built the tools allow us to communicate and have this toxic behavior, because that's the problem. Like, if we have tools out there that incentivize us to say something stupid and crazy and insulting, and I get 1 million likes from it, I want to do it.